Good morning, and welcome to our Monday morning of faith. Today, we're going to talk about time, and we're going to talk about how it impacts us spiritually, and we're going to talk about what to do about those impacts. First, let me explain to you why I have all these props, because it's to help us visually understand that the time that we're living in is not the same as it used to be. And I'm not talking about the events of outside our homes, not the political or social times. I'm talking about the internal time of what's happening inside us. These are props and things that come from another time in my ministry. There's the painting in behind me, there's this canvas jumper that I'm wearing, and there's these puffins that were given to me as a gift. They're all from another time in my ministry called Harrington Harbour Pastoral Charge, which was made up of 3 villages, Harrington Harbour, Chevery, and Aylmer Sound, and they're way up the Gulf of St. Lawrence, just on the Quebec side of Labrador. Total population, about 550, no roads in or out, a lot of isolation, and tons of time to weigh on your head. The impact of time and the challenges of managing it in isolation like we are now should not be underestimated. By now, you're starting to, in spite of all the jokes, realize about how our minds are not working, start to realize that this is actually not as easy as it may seem. And it's not just a question of putting in some new routines. So we're going to talk about 3 rules about time, and we're going to talk about what to do about it spiritually and faithfully. The first thing that I want to do before getting into the 3 rules is I want to just check in with you to make sure that we're understanding some of the symptoms when we're having a hard time, not managing time, but absorbing it in these conditions. Are you like many people who I've spoken to over the last few weeks that are a little bit perplexed by how tired they are all the time? Even though we have so much time to be resting, why are we so tired? And the other thing is, some people are taken off guard that I've spoken to about how little things can become big things really, really, really fast. Like it's more than just emotional spikes. It's how come something that really is not that important all of a sudden occupies this monumental thing in my life. Well, here's why. The first is that the mind needs rules. We know that, right? We need rules about what we're going to do to get up and work in the world. But one of the things that we don't really pay attention to is that our emotions, they need rules too. They need rules to govern them. And when the rules of the mind and the rules of emotions come together, we're not dealing in the same realm anymore. We're dealing at the realm of the soul. So that's the first rule about being in isolation. We're dealing at the level of the soul, not of the mind, not of the emotions that go along with the mind, but the whole soul. The second, which is related to the first, is that it's really important to remember in everyday life, but even more so in isolation, that it's never as bad as it seems, even if it's bad. It's never as bad as it seems, even if it's bad. The last thing, and this is I think what really plays on the mind and why I say this is a matter of the soul, is time hasn't actually changed. And also, neither have you. Time remains the way it always has been. The sun gets up and it sets, and there's 12 hours of light and there's 12 hours of day roughly, and the world is still turning and all of that stuff. Time hasn't changed. So, what do we do? What do you do if you're suffering from these emotions? And where does your faith come in now? There's this passage in the Bible that we've all heard of, be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Did you feel a sense of calm that came? Did you feel the rules of your mind loosen just a little and the rules of your emotions maybe tighten up just a little so that there was this better harmony? So now you might say, so what, Eric? So what about all of these things that you know about living in time that the people of the lower North Shore taught to you about your emotions? Oh, they taught me some pretty neat things, boy, and they taught me one real neat trick about time. Stop counting it. Right now, you have so much time on your hands that counting it is a never-ending task that frankly is useless. Instead, experience it. You know, when we used to get together for a party up there, we used to call it a time. And the thing that I learned the most about being the minister up in the lower North Shore is that if I could experience time for its quality and not its quantity, not how much I had invested in terms of its counting it, but how much I had allowed it to invest in me, I grew spiritually as a person. So, in the midst of being tired, in the midst of having little things become big things, experience time. Ask yourself, this time that I have just gone through, was it a good time, a fun time, a sad time, a peaceful time, a happy time, all of those things? You'll find, I think, that when you are still and know that God is God, the spikes of time, the pressures of time will begin to ease. Enjoy this time today with God. Be blessed. Be a blessing. Take your time. Amen.